Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. So we are officially in the month of Virgo. End of August, we're in Virgo season. From the Jewish perspective, we're in Elul. We're fully here. Now, what does that mean? So essentially, Virgo season is all about the I become energy. It's the embodiment. The energy of the Virgin, the divine feminine presence. It also is about health and wellness and ritual. This is an important time to really tune into to ourselves and what we need. One, for our bodies, but holistically, what do we need to help us stay in a good space, to help us keep moving forward, to be in our most positive self. And so we take a look at those things during this time. Also, from the Jewish perspective, right now we're going into some major energies right now. And part of those energies is the high holidays. And I mention this because even though in Judaism we celebrate the high holidays, the energy is still present. And it's bringing in a lot of intense energies. I will tell you, Virgo is one of the most intense times. This is where we see a lot of different events have happened. One being September 11th. It is led by Mercury, so it can be really in the mind, but it has those qualities of Earth. That's what differentiates between Gemini and Virgo. Is one is an earth element and one is an air element, and so Mercury is interpreted in a more grounding way. And so anyone who's really feeling the energy, of people passing on during this time, which part of that high holiday energy is this portal that has been opened, right? In the month of Elul, for those who are not familiar, we're essentially it's an acronym for my beloved is mine and I am my beloved's. And so the king is in the field, essentially. So we're really looking at the aspects of ourselves of source and coming back into source in full embodiment of the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies. And we're really taking a focus on the divine feminine at this moment in time. But give me one moment. So, yeah, this is a very complex time. And so when we look at the energies of what's going on here, we just came out of a full moon, but depending on your perspective, it could have been the second Aquarius moon or Pisces moon. And many people have different interpretations on that. And this time is really looking at our emotional state, and it's, very intense from the perspective of like just having a blue moon in general, 2 full moons in 1 month, being in the Pisces energy, which is a water sign. It's very much so an ether. We're now just going into Aries moon right now. So that's being put, some action into things. But with this portal energy, it's I don't know, the energy is kind of a little bit disorienting at times. Deciding, which way to go. And I feel like that's kind of the point, during this time, is to kind of allow and let go. Virgo is a mutable sign. And so that the mutable is movable. What else we got going on here? Let's see here. We have two planets at 22 degrees in the house of Aries, which is Neptune and a asteroid, and they're both in retrograde. So we have this Neptune energy, which is really important for what I was just saying. That 22 is a alchemizing step. The 22 is all about imagine like you're putting 2 different sets of emotions and you're mixing them together to kind of so you have 2 different vibrations essentially, and you're bringing it into a brand new frequency. Now that frequency, because it's a kind of like a science experiment, we don't know how it's going to turn out. So the ingredients that we put in are really, really important. And so we're kind of doing this level up because Neptune is in Pisces and it's in a retrograde. So it's an internal process that we're going through. It may feel like a lot of different shifts and changes are happening within inside of you, especially in regards to your spirituality, your connection with Hashem, your connection with Source, whatever the name is that you have for the divine. And so that's all swirling around inside of you right now. Then, to make things more interesting, we have Jupiter in retrograde. It's in Aquarius at step 26, degree point 26. So we have this electrifying, revolutionary type of energy. It's internal. And what Jupiter is really good for is it is our story. It is kind of like the idea of the Akashic records. When in Judaism, we call that the book of life, essentially. So there's a rewrite going on right now. And since it's in 26 degrees, you have the 2, which is a vibration, so the feeling, right? Which is associated with the Cancer energy. And then you have the 6, which is the Libra energy, which is all about the I balance. So we're balancing out a new frequency, and we're deciding, because it nets to an 8, 2 plus 6 equals 8. We're deciding and committing to what we want our story to be. What are the inner stories we're telling ourselves? So it's not necessarily about what we want to create outside of ourselves, like I want to go to Japan or whatever that is. It's more so taking those energies, re-alchemizing them, and telling our story internally differently. Are we saying kind things to ourselves? Are we believing that we can make a difference in our own life? those type of stories, those internal stories that are the ingredients to allowing for those outside stories, essentially. Also, we have Pluto in Capricorn at 24 degrees. It's also in retrograde. Whoa, and I didn't even realize this. And Saturn is at degree 0.8 in Aquarius in retrograde once again. So a lot of internal things going on right now. So Pluto, essentially, we're going to go there, and that's in the house of, that one's in the house of Aquarius. And then, of course, the Jupiter was in the house of Pisces. So the hidden, the unseen was those stories that we were talking about. Let's go into Pluto. Pluto is, again, setting the tone, our vibration, our feelings, right? That too, that Cancer energy. And we have the 4. The 4 is the I belong energy. It is the shift. It is the Aquarian energy. And we're creating a new vibration for this electrifying energy within our transformation. But balancing out, because that 2 plus the 4 equals a 6, which again is the Libra energy. We're harmonizing that internal being within ourselves of our transformation. We are preparing ourselves for the shifts and changes, and I bring that into Saturn here. Saturn is associated with Capricorn, okay? And so it's in a retrograde as well. It's this electrifying energy, the Aquarius, and it's at degree 0.8. So it's not a Grandmaster step like what we were talking about before. The 22s, the 26s, the 24s, it's different. The 8 is kind of like very solo. It's very much so centering on ourselves specifically. And that is a decision and a commitment within what kind of shifts and changes that we're preparing for, essentially. And that is essential to this entire process because it is in a retrograde. And it has to do both our transformation, and which is Pluto, and the Saturn, okay, which is our foundation, is all in the house of Aquarius, which is all about our friendships and organizations, what we're connected to at a larger level, okay? That is all being re-alchemized right here, right now. So right now it's important to really tune in to what shifts and changes are happening. What decisions do we want to make? Do we recognize that certain friends or associations that we're a part of are good for us, or are they not serving us anymore? And that's something that we really dealt with within the full moon energy, and it's never too late to really, address this as we're in this current energy. Now, specifically, we also want to address not just outside matters, but how are we being a friend to ourselves? Okay? Like, are we building ourselves up? Are we allowing ourselves these things that we need, these connections? And it's really addressing those internal things. And here's the thing, the key and the secret of a retrograde, it's so beautiful. Once we felt it internally within us, all of the shifts and changes become so simplistic because we're aligning to the divine plan. We're aligning to this divine energy, this source energy. and it becomes a flow. We're not fighting against anything. We're literally in alignment. And that is something that we are striving for during this type of period of time. And that's something that's super important. The thing is a lot of people get so bent out of shape in regards to retrogrades. And essentially what the retrograde means on a physical aspect is that the planet is appearing to be moving backwards. So that indicates a review period, an internal dialogue. But what people don't realize is once we have had that inner dialogue and done this work, have gone inward and felt these vibrations, magic literally happens, because then our stories are set free. We are in a divine alignment and we're moving forward now. So that's when things start to get really catapulted, when it goes back direct. And that's the thing, is it does not always have to happen in a direct period, especially if whatever you were working on was prior to that planet going into retrograde. Excuse me. Now, what else we got here? We have Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus in the house of Taurus, okay? And that's important. So we're revolutionizing. Oh, and that's in retrograde. Gotta love that. So again, we're revolutionizing our values during this time. And in what degree point? So we have 14, and that's really about really taking things into our heart, okay? What's in alignment with our heart for the bigger picture that we are communicating. And I say communicating to ourselves, because this is an internal process. What are our values? What are we telling What are we telling ourselves that our values are? It's super important for this next point, because this is our point of manifestation. Why? Because our revolutionary story here is in Taurus. It's the manifester. It's the giving birth. So yes, all of this is a part of that. Yes, there's going to be times of, like allowing things to be given birth. It's a process. You can't just have everything. It's what nuggets of gold we get out of this process, and that's the gold. It's those things. It's not the end product. It's the journey. I also want to touch base on Chiron. Chiron is also in the house of Aries. So that's our inner child. It's our like ego. And what is that saying to us? Well, it's in Aries, so it's in its home. It's in its home house, I should say. That's also in retrograde. So we're having this inner dialogue with our inner child. And what is that saying? So that is saying it's a 12. So, first of all, what is Chiron? Chiron is the healer. It's the wounded healer. So it's where we see that in our chart will indicate certain things of maybe where we were wounded previously. For this perspective right here, it being in Aries, and in the house of Aries, it's really going deep into anything where maybe we have been wounded within our childhood, within our ego, within the deepest, purest parts of ourselves. And it's doing that through an internal process. 12 degrees. So I lead with my heart to feel and to believe. So we're restoring our heart, our feelings, and our beliefs. That we, like the childlike faith, essentially, during this period with Chiron. Then, what do we got? We got Black Moon Lilith in Gemini at degree point 4. Black Moon Lilith is literally our fears. It also can be associated with the dark feminine, like our sexuality and whatnot. And so that's in a revolutionary point as well. It's where do we belong? And that's in Gemini. And so like there might be a lot of like, fears and doubles about moving forward within our bigger visions, right? And that's the thing. It's seeing through the illusion. And part of that is really so it's actually in the house of communications. So it's going to be really in our throat chakras about speaking our truth. The more you speak your truth and more you however you feel doing that, it can be through art, it can be through writing, it can be through music, it can be through a podcast. The more we use our voice in this particular time will help clear that fear. We also have the North and South node. Let's go with the South node where we come from. It's in degree point 6, and that's in Gemini. So we're kind of approaching anything within communications that we've previously come from. Remember that we are fully supported because we've been there before. And that is also helping us because it's in degree point 6. It's about harmonizing and balancing, which means that it's already gone over step 0 all the way through 6 at this point, right? Or 5, I should say. So that means any fears that we may have had in regards to Black Moon Lilith can be null and void because we've already been through it. And then we look for what are we learning? What are we learning is the belief. It's the faith. It's the journey about letting go because it's in Sag. And it's in the same house, which is the house of Sagittarius. So that can be our higher learning. It can also be court stuff. All of these type of, maybe even like religious stuff. We are here to learn a new way of believing, a new way of balancing out, spirituality, essentially. Then we look over, we have Venus. Venus is in Libra, in its own planet. And it's at degree point 10. So we're now we've gone through step 0 through 9, and now we've already taken action for something within our relationship. And this is direct, okay? So if you right here, right now, have been calling in a relationship, this is a time where you can see that being called in. It's like this is the manifesting time for that. It's fertile ground. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship, but a relationship. This is a really good time to really even write something to yourself, the relationship you have with yourself and how you would like to see that on the, presented in front of you, essentially. Writing this down during this time is really important. It solidifies something. So if you keep it in your head, it's not spoken out. If you speak it out and you're not writing it down, you see where the grounding aspects are through the elements, right? So we're essentially, you're one step forward, kind of like with speaking it out, but you ground it in when you write it. Then let's go over here to Mercury. Mercury is in step or degree point 22, so that we also have Neptune and that other asteroid that I'm not really sure what that is in 22. And Mercury is all about communication, and we're re-alchemizing a new communication in what? It's in Virgo right now, and it's in the house of relationships. So we're again re-alchemizing a bigger picture for our communications within our relationships, and specifically with the divine feminine, because Virgo is the virgin, and it's also with our health. It's also our relationship with our health. It's with our regiments, all of these different things. And then Mars, of course, we have in Virgo in the house of relationships again. So major things are happening in this area, and it's in degree point 16, and that is leading with the heart, balancing, and having faith and compassion within the process, because it nets to a 7, which is the Piscean energy. So what does that mean in regards to Mars? Well, it's our taking action. So we're leading with the heart when we take action. We're balancing out and harmonizing that action and having faith in the process, right? And that is having to do with our relationships, and also, like within the relationship with ourself, with our health. And so then we look at our sun. Don't want to forget that. Sun is at degree point 2. It is in Virgo. And so right now, essentially what's going on is we're finding a new feeling with the Virgo energy, okay? And so a lot of emotions tend to come up during this time. And it's in the house of Virgo, which is within our health. So what are our feelings around health and our routine? And because, the sun is illuminating this, it'll bring something to the forefront if we ask. Then, lastly but not least, is the part of fortune. Where's our part of fortune? It's in Leo, in our house of Virgo. So it's leading with the heart again, okay, that lion energy. And we're leading with the heart and taking action to manifest within our health routine. And so our part of fortune here is we can really benefit within having a good routine and taking action within that. That will bring, the fullness to ourselves. And so that is this week's energy update. Bit long, but that is what the stars are saying. That is what the energy is here. And this is Energy Speaks podcast. Please check out my new podcast, which is called the Solar Return Enlightenment Quest. And kind of what I was going through here very quickly with the degree points, we're drawing parallels between the sun and the earth. degree point by degree point within the sun. And here's the thing, is even if for some reason you don't get to hear every single day, live, you know what I mean. What's interesting about this is you can take notes for yourself within this process. You'll start from 0 all the way to 29, and we'll go through each degree point within the sun / Earth, because they're at the same, cycle. And so when we do that, even if we're not in that particular day when you're listening, it's okay, because we always can bring in that energy, and it's actually more productive to work through that energy and going podcast by podcast than to skip ahead within this program. And so if you're interested in really getting in tune with the degree points within the sun and the earth through our zodiac energies, please check out the Solar Return Enlightenment Quest. I will also be premiering a new podcast channel as well, besides the Solar Return Enlightenment Quest, which is called Shevet Kalot Medabrim podcast, which will premiere topics of Judaism and holding that container, doing weekly Torah portions, having guest speakers, and really delving deep within Judaism. So I thank you for listening. Please subscribe and leave a comment if you feel guided. Love you all, divine, beautiful souls. I hope you have a great week. Over and out.